Today's Sunday, May 31st, 2020. Sun setting out here on the Cape. Really pretty, sweet evening. It's getting a little chilly. It's been nice sitting surrounded by this water tonight. You take on the mood of the water, the large bodies of water, it seems like. It sets the tone, affects your personal mood to be surrounded by this much water. A little slish slosh feels really calming. It feels like it's been a really busy, full day today, even though I haven't got much done. There's been a lot of like soul growth happening, a lot of raw edges that have been getting touched in the last 24 hours. And it's all around some of my deepest levels of intimacy, both in accessing my own truth and connectedness to my own sexuality and sensuality, and to my ability to connect with my partner, our sexual creative energy between us, like what we're manifesting, what we're creating, how well are we able to connect, how much healing there is between me and my own sexual sense of self. Is that what I'm trying to say? I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I see how my personal wounds come up around areas of intimacy, areas of connecting with my partner, areas of sexuality, like healthy ways of dealing with my own sexuality, healthy ways of connecting, feeling connected to my own wants and needs around sexuality. Like in some ways I feel I'm still learning that, I'm still exploring that, and then there's my personal story and where that meets up with my partner and what's happening there, and which levels of our personality or our relationship are super strong and successful, and which other areas of us that we're having to work at, and feeling the tension and the pull between those two ends of our relationship. How the strong areas of the relationship inspire us to want to work and bring up the lower ends of the relationship so that the whole ship's up and sailing. And just working with that. It's been big today. Dropped in with a good friend of mine on Zoom, and the theme seemed just as alive for her as it did for me and Becky this weekend. And there's so much at stake, so much potential of creativity, so much like the risk and the gamble of the heart, of like, hey, to open up the heart, to fall in love again, to dare to be vulnerable and go all in on another adventure. to allow the love and relationship and the presence of another to change me and see, not knowing who I become, but surrendering into that and all the resistance that comes up around it, all the healing that this new relationship is inviting into my life, how I attract people of a similar vibration as me, both in my strengths and in my weaknesses, how we often seem to attract in people with the same wounds as us. And what came up today is that sometimes with our partners it seems that we carry the same wound, but maybe we've gone about our healing with it in very opposite ways. And therein lies the polarity of both our attraction and our disconnect all at the same time. Of our what we get triggered by the other person with is maybe around how they're addressing the healing of the same wound that we carry, and how we've chosen another route for our healing. But maybe as we observe our closest partner's path and see where our path has gone, where their path is going, maybe the point of strength for both people is somewhere in the middle of both of those paths. Like maybe that's what we're here to learn most from our partner, is maybe not to adopt their polarity at their far extreme, but to bring more of that polarity into our path, to deepen our own healing around that, to give us a broader range or spectrum of our own healing. This is maybe some of the gifts that we bring for each other in the natural attraction to each other, and or the potential for that gift. Like there's no guarantee that that would go down, but with this mindset, it's now possible to go down. It's to see that, to acknowledge that, and to begin to be curious and investigate their way with that in mind, and to notice a little bit more of the where and the why of how I'm getting triggered, and why I'm getting triggered, and where that is for me, of like what fears I'm holding around that, or what resistances. It also came up in my conversation today around I commented on how interesting it is that, like, despite the whole planet being in a very volatile scene of its own transitions and its own identity crisis and all kinds of crises, it seems what's most real and present for people that I speak with always comes right down to their love life, their sex life. Like this is of like paramount importance, how we're connecting with the people closest to us, how we're making use of our creative soul fire, and how we're meeting up and exploring that erotic, that ecstatic, that orgasmic, potent life force energy, how we're touching in with that, how we're letting that move through us and create through us, and how we're able to share and connect with that with each other. And that, of course, this would be the most real thing for all of us. But it's interesting to me that that our personal experience always trumps anything that's going on the whole planet. It's almost inconsequential if the whole planet's burning down, if our love life or sex life is not in balance where we want it, where we're aiming for it. And my friend, she was commenting on how she sees those two scenarios as the same, like the outer world is just a bigger manifestation of where we all are with our own love stories, where we are with our own healing and healthy expression of our sexuality. And that as we heal and take on all those rough edges and unfinished places, unexplored or unacknowledged places within us around sex and love and heart space there, that we do begin to heal the planet was her perspective on that. And that this is maybe the biggest gift we can give back to the collective consciousness, is how we heal and brave into these new territories in relationship, even in relationship with ourselves, with our own bodies, with our own both happiness and like inner ecstasy of our own body, and how we touch in with that, connect with that, and to trust the adventure that love takes us on by speaking truthfully. This has come up in the last 24 hours for me too, that like, man, speaking our truth, ooh, I know my own hesitancy around it. I can often feel how much, if I say this out loud, how much of an impact it's going to have on the people closest to me, how it has potential to change my whole reality, and how scary that can be. Like, if I speak my truth, like, is this going to hurt the feelings of my partner or the person, people closest to me? If it is, how will they react? What's going to happen? That fear, I think, keeps us from speaking our truth. I know that fear keeps me hesitating to speak my truth. Days go by, maybe weeks, out of fear for how this will land, out of fear for how this will affect, parts of my life that I don't want to lose or endanger unnecessarily, but we don't always have control over that. It's like, hey, like, I would like to speak this truth and have it affect this part of my life, but I'm hoping it doesn't affect all this part of my life too, but that's usually out of our hands. And so then to speak our truth is to just trust the unfolding of events that sets in motion. Just want to acknowledge the fear and intimidation we come up against when we're called in to speak our truth, because it definitely changes things to speak it out loud, to both acknowledge it as our truth for ourselves and then to be brave enough to share that is a high level of intimacy and trust. And those are my topics today. And if I'm speaking a little vague or broad, it's because I want to speak most honestly to what's happening, but I don't care to betray the details or the intimacy of what's going on in my private life. I just wish to speak to the power of what's really happening as honestly and directly as I can, with still maintaining the privacy of myself. That's my share for today. May we all move brave into those areas of our own heart and sexuality that are asking for our attention and for help and for healing and for acknowledgement and for exploration and for satisfaction. And may the healing we do there be seen in the world around us. Bless you all, divine lights. Thank you. Aloha.